Well, Border Patrol agents apprehending a group of 20 Romanian nationals at the U.S.-Canadian border earlier this week. 2 of those said to have ties to organized crime. The northern border's Swanton sector seeing a 550% increase in migrant apprehensions last fiscal year, with migrants from 79 different countries crossing into the United States. Joining me now, former U.S. Border Patrol Chief and Deputy Commissioner and former Acting ICE Director, Ronald Vitiello. Great to see you this morning, Ronald. Thank you so much for being here. Obviously, we've got a huge issue at our southern border, but it's increasingly apparent as well and making headlines now that we've got an issue at our northern border. This is an administration that has completely turned a blind eye to either issue, essentially because it wants to allow migration into this country and have open borders to a certain degree to change the demographics in this country, which is slowly but surely starting to happen, but also not recognizing, Ronald, the danger that it presents to Americans here at home.
Good morning, Jackie. Thanks for inviting me. I agree that this administration has done all the wrong things as it relates to trying to secure the border. So what's happening in Swanton sector, a place I know very well, I used to work there, there are people all over the world that now know that they can take advantage of this administration and the policies, right? We're incentivizing people that come to the border. If you look at the numbers on the southwest border, and it's true again on the northern border, if you're releasing into the United States half of everybody who comes into the country illegally, then you're just going to get more people coming. And the northern border is no different than the southern border in the case of people understand what the incentives are. I'm incentivized to come from some foreign country into the United States and then be released into the economy in New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles. They're going to keep doing that because we're encouraging it. The policies of this administration tore down all the control levels that we had in the previous administration. And here we are. This is a symptom of those wrong-headed policies that puts us all at risk, right? We see these cities complaining about the numbers of people that are coming in, the staying at, like in New York at the Roosevelt Hotel, those kinds of things. We see all that happening, and it's happening all over the country. And it's because of the messaging, policies of this administration.
Yeah, and the messaging basically for the last 3 years now has been, come to America and we will give you free things, and we will give you housing, we will give you food, we will give you and your family health care and education. Who wouldn't want to come if that was the message coming out of the administration? But the dangers presented for us here at home, Border Patrol agents in California now seizing over $3.5 million worth of fentanyl pills. They were hidden inside a car door. It was in the panels in the seats. A Border Patrol dog alerted San Diego sector agents to the sedan during a traffic stop. Ronald, fentanyl is a huge problem. Fentanyl is coming through the border, but it originates in China, where the chemicals, that eventually become fentanyl are coming from. We had President Xi here, and our president didn't even take a hard enough stance on the problem that we're facing and the youth in America that fentanyl is killing.
Yeah, it's terrible. Over 100,000 deaths from overdose last year. We know that the majority of those are from opioids like fentanyl. Young people are buying things on the dark web that they think are other drugs that are laced with this deadly poison, and they're killing themselves. One pill will kill someone. And so, yeah, this, again, when you have an out-of-control border, when you're empowering the cartels on the southwest border and in Mexico and encouraging this deadly chemicals from China into Mexico, this is what we have. This is not a coincidence that our border is totally out of control, and we have the largest number of opioid deaths and overdose deaths in the United States. It's not a coincidence. This is the same policy that drives the traffic at the southwest border and empowers these cartels.
It's tragic.
We could have it better in 2023. This administration refuses to do what they know they will work on our southwest border.
Yeah, and Ronald, coming back here locally at home, Politico reporting that President Biden and New York City's Mayor Eric Adams, quote, haven't spoken in nearly a year, and nobody expects that to change anytime soon. The icy relationship emerging amid Adams' criticism of the president's handling of the migrant crisis. Now, Adams warning New Yorkers this week that there's nothing that the city can do to stop these migrants from sleeping on the streets. Then you've got low-income New Yorkers living in public housing, also claiming that the illegal migrants were first in line for free Thanksgiving turkey dinners this year. Ronald, your reaction to that Americans are not being prioritized over migrants coming into this country illegally?
Yeah, it's sad that, the financial center of the world, right? New York City is being hampered by these thousands of people who are coming from all over the world. And Mayor Adams can pick up the phone and call the White House and ask him to change the policy at our southwest border so that these people aren't coming in massive numbers to New York, Chicago, Denver, LA. It doesn't have to be this way. The policy could be changed. When this president took over, we had 45-year lows in illegal migrant activity at the southwest border. We can have that again with the right policies, with the right implementation. Give the men and women of the front line the tools that they need to control that border. Sure. And we can have a safe and secure New York, Chicago, LA, Denver, et cetera.
Or better yet, continue to build the wall, the materials and everything. We're waiting right there. But of course, that's not something President Biden wants to do. Lauren, jump in.
Ron, going back to your first point about incentives, something I've always thought is so interesting is if you watch the 2020 election coverage, every single Democrat during one of the debates on the stage raised their hand for giving subsidized health care to illegal immigrants, which many consider the ultimate pull factor. But then once Biden got into office, he actually fought in court to keep a lot of the Trump administration policies. They ramped up Title VIII exportations. They tried to keep Title 42. So is it more the case, in your view, that the Biden administration is trying and failing at securing the border, or is this truly a totally unmitigated disaster?
It's a complete disaster, all of the things that they've done, right? You have the Secretary of Homeland Security telling the whole world that if you're in the country illegally, ICE is not going to come looking for you. That's an incentive for people, right? If they know they're not going to be apprehended and sent back home, they're going to come in bigger numbers. And so every chance they've had to take a harder line on what happens at the border, right? The Remain in Mexico program, they tore it down in the first week of this administration. And not only did they just turn it off, but they let everybody that was waiting in Mexico into the United States. So, yeah, the incentives matter here. If you tell people they come to the border and get released into the United States, you're just going to get more of it. And that's what's been happening for the better part of this last 3 years. This administration tore down all of the control levels that they had. And incentives matter here. This is a market. People respond to incentives. If you let them go, half of everybody that gets arrested is released at the border, then you're just going to get more of that. And then let's think about all the human trafficking, all the narcotics, all the danger of the people that are coming into the United States that are never seen by law enforcement. It puts us all at risk.
If I can ask you, I have my own theories, but I'm wondering what you think the administration's agenda is, why they're willing to sell the country down the river, letting all of this danger in and putting us under this economic hardship to deal with this. Nancy Pelosi will tell you, oh, well, we need the immigrants to do the jobs that Americans don't want to do. We need the labor. But I don't think that's it. What do you think it is?
No, they prefer this chaos over control. There's some wrong-headed idea inside the halls of the White House that says, hey, we're just going to let everybody in, and then someone's going to have to respond to this. We're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do comprehensive immigration reform or some other fantasy that they have. But yeah, it's terrible. It's not good for you and me. It's not good for all of the people in the United States because we're all at great risk. We understand what happened on October 7th in Israel. Those people are coming to our border as well. We all need to be more vigilant in our own neighborhoods and our communities. And we don't have to have a border that's out of control in 2023. This administration chooses to have chaos over control.
So another school of thought, Ronald, is that essentially if you let 7-8 million people into this country over the course of 3 years and they settle down and have children here and then are allowed to get citizenship as a result of that, eventually they'll be able to vote. Their children will be able to vote. And that will skew the demographics because presumably these would be people that would vote for Democrats. Real quick.
Yeah, they don't like this country. They don't like hardworking Americans because they wouldn't be importing everybody from the third world in by the millions. That's what's happening that's what's happened in the last 3 years. They obviously don't like us.
Yeah, Ronald, thank you so much. Good to see you, sir.